Guys, did you see that? It's like apparently, allegedly, 1,000 of those Afrikaner refugees that went to America, they're coming back because they don't like America. But if you're experiencing a white Afrikaner, specifically like Afrikaner genocide or white genocide, would it not be unsafe for you to return? So what's happening now is that more than ever, even with all the investigations that were done, it just shows you that this was never true. I mean, I know it. I'm white and I'm Afrikaans, and I've never been targeted or discriminated against based on the fact that I'm white and Afrikaans. But now they're coming back and they're proving the point that there is no Afrikaner genocide. But I also think as like South Africa, I know in general we are a very friendly country and friendly people. I think we should not allow them to come back because they sowed hatred and they try to, I don't know why so many white Afrikaners people are obsessed with making themselves the victim. I think it is because when they make themselves the victim or pretend like they experience hate crimes, then it justifies them hating other people because of their skin color, which it's not okay. Guys, it's not okay. You're racist and you suck as a human being. But yeah, I don't think we should allow them back.
Yes, just a reminder, don't just read the headlines, read the article. So when we saw this article, exclusive, Trump poised to expand refugee program for white South Africans. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. Just say you'll take any white South Africans, get it over and done with. We're a bit tired of this whole story. But when you read the article, you also see this. So we had a South African in Minneapolis in late January that departed the US less than a month later. And according to the email, plans for his family fell through. So he returned to his home country. Then a pair of South Africans who arrived in Twin Falls in Idaho in late January via the refugee program turned around a week later saying a parent was ill in South Africa. That's what the email showed. And then another South African resettled in Moline, Illinois in mid-March returned later, the email said. And according to the email, resettlement occurred quickly. She had not thoroughly thought through the process and her family in South Africa had decided not to continue their own resettlement process. Additionally, the client's age was 66 and the ability to provide for herself is a concern. So like I've said, those people that want to go, they should assimilate it, they should listen to what the US Embassy said and not be posting up a storm on social media. Also, don't lie about South Africa, don't lie about your background because it is going to come out. But it's not all rosy for everyone. Some people are fine, others are not finding the transition to be what it's being sold to be by certain, podcasters.
There's one particular story over this weekend that I think is getting a bit buried in the craziness. I want you to watch something and then let's talk about it.
We suspended all refugee resettlement except for persecuted South Africans. They're being persecuted in South Africa. In South Africa, there's a very horrible thing going on in South Africa. It's a genocide. It's a horrible thing. And we made it possible for these people to come into our country.
This was when he was speaking at the Turning Point USA event on, I believe, Friday. And he very gleefully informs everyone that we are accepting no asylum seekers except, and he's very careful to talk about this one exception, white people from South Africa. And considering this is the same president who previously bemoaned the lack of white immigrants coming to our nation, we know this because he was talking about why do more people from countries like Sweden and Finland not migrate to the United States? So we can see very clearly and blatantly the racism that is being propped up by this administration, which it's not a surprise. We've known it forever. And when you have an individual like Stephen Miller being the behind-the-scenes architect of all of this, a man who is constantly lamenting us losing the inheritance of our heritage here in our own homeland, just a wildly overt showing of this kind of malignant nationalism that is rooted in white supremacy. All of this is astounding to witness. Furthermore, white people in South Africa are not suffering what he is claiming they are suffering. That cannot be stated enough times. White people in South Africa are living in the whiplash of having apartheid abolished, and they still can't figure out how to get their footing in a scenario, an economic system and a social system wherein they don't have superiority simply for being white and the descendants of Europeans. There's a great deal of similarity in terms of the racial hierarchy system built upon, predicated upon systems of oppression in South Africa and right here in the United States of America, considering the wealth that was built and created on the backs of Black and brown bodies, and institutionalized systems that continue to push down those who have been marginalized in our history. And our administration is showing us point blank, obviously and blatantly, right in front of our faces, that their intention is to continue to prop up white people. When you have the likes of Erica Kirk saying you should not be ashamed for being a young man, especially a young white male man, they're telling you that their entire purpose of dismantling DEI and taking us back to merit all rests upon the fact that they feel like they have to now struggle more because they don't get a leg up just for being white. And that really pisses them off. All of this is the result of mediocre white people who had success and wealth just because of the history of our nation and what was able to be built upon, again, the bodies, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the backbreaking labor of people who were not white. That is the whole reason why they had their success. And now, when they were starting to be faced with a society wherein that wasn't enough to get them to the top anymore, or at least it was being threatened, they came in and they broke it all down. And we know good and well this is coming from Elon Musk himself, this stuff coming from South Africa, because he is a product of wealth that was built in apartheid South Africa. And his family lost out on a lot when that was dismantled. And he's never gotten over it. He's still mad about it. This entire process, this entire reality wherein we are living is sick and twisted and wrong. But they're allowed to get away with it because they have so much wealth and power, and people in the United States who had enough internalized racism that it could be preyed upon by these people to get them back into power. They now have the ability to put in all the loyalists and people that think just like them with the economic and now political power all together to have this regime. But they still have the audacity to try and say it's the left that's the party of bureaucracy. Look, I understand there are issues with classism across all political party, all political involvement, and it's absolutely something that needs addressing. But until we are willing to break down the racism that is at the root of all of these problems within our society, we will never make actual progress. The racism is at the root of all of it. I am 100% setting 10 toes down on that observation.
White South Africans that were pretty much the only people Donald Trump has let into the country since his administration took over are returning home. They came to the United States because they said they were being persecuted in their home country, and now they're going back because they say nobody is meant to live the way you have to live in the United States. It's too expensive and it's too violent. They say, look, we're leaving the U.S. to return home because I don't want to live in a place like this. That article goes on to claim that they didn't want to live in places where people are getting shot in broad daylight and where things cost 10 times more than they should. See, for the people in the U.S., these things are normal, but for the rest of the world, it's not. We are not a safe country. We are not the greatest country in the world, and we're not a country that actually takes care of its citizens. So these white South Africans that came here because they were persecuted, that Donald Trump welcomed to fanfare, are now going home because things were better there than they are in the United States.